Hey, what's up guys? Alright, so Eden Zero chapter 201 is out, and I'm just gonna jump ahead in the beginning of this video to the end of the chapter, because I feel like the ending of the chapter, that big reveal that we got on the last page, is probably the most important and probably the most interesting talking point. So if you guys remember back to chapter 4, at the end of that chapter we jumped ahead 20,000 years into the future, and we started following these two astronauts who on this like half-destroyed planet found these two human corpses, a male and a female. And back then, we all just kind of assumed that these corpses were Rebecca and Shiki in the far future, because of the fact that next to the female corpse, they actually found Rebecca's B-cube. Then we didn't get any new information on this plotline again until the ending of last week's chapter, where we jumped ahead once again 20,000 years into the future, picking up exactly where we left off on that scene the last time. And this time we ended up finding out a bit more information about this future timeline, but the most important thing was that we ended up finding out that the male human was actually somehow still alive. And then surprisingly, we didn't have to wait another 196 chapters to get the next update on this plotline, because at the end of this chapter we once again jumped ahead 20,000 years into the future, and we ended up finding out two new important pieces of information from this chapter. First, we ended up finding out that these two astronauts, yeah, they're actually androids, which I kind of figured they might be based on their designs, but we ended up finding out that apparently no human has existed in this universe for 20,000 years in this timeline, which is kind of wild because this is what we jump to, like exactly 20,000 years into the future from the current timeline is where we jump to. Although it doesn't really make that much sense when you think about it, because if we go back to chapter 4, we jumped ahead 20,000 years back then, and that was before the 3-year time skip, so it should be technically 19,997 years, but so nonetheless, we jumped ahead exactly 20,000 years, and no human is currently alive in this current timeline. So yeah, I guess in this timeline, that means Ziggy's Terminator plan actually ended up working. Which I'm just now realizing means that his plan to kill Mother must have also worked as well, because eventually she would have just created more humans, but if she's not around to do that, that would explain why they went extinct. And then the other thing we find out is that apparently these two androids are going to be taking this human corpse, who I still think might be the future timeline version of Shiki, to their home planet, which we end up finding out is called Planet Eden. Now, as far as I'm aware, this is our first time hearing about this planet, so I don't really know much or have anything really to say about it until we get more information on it. But I mean, yeah, this is actually kind of a huge shock finding out that Ziggy in the future timeline actually managed to win. Now, I mean, obviously, in the current timeline that we're following, things are going to play out differently. Even if the whole fan theory that Ziggy might be a future alternate version of Shiki ends up being true, and we end up finding out that this entire time they've been kind of repeating over and over again a time loop, we know that our current Shiki, the one that we've been following this entire time, is eventually going to be the one to break that loop. Just like how we saw at the end of the last arc where he made a choice that Ziggy didn't think he'd actually end up making. Now, getting to the rest of the chapter, it actually just starts up with Rebecca's crew at the planet's core, and pretty much the only thing that happens in this scene is that they decide they're going to use Homer's night gear to gather up all the mothers they can, including their own, take them back to the ship, and then Rebecca's going to finally start up Operation Planet Eater. Then we go back to the fight with Dead End Crow, and we see Herman rejoining the crew and helping taking him down. And it's a good thing that she showed up, because apparently Jin was waiting for her to get there to tell the crew some important information about Dead End Crow that he found out while they were fighting him, which is apparently that he can absorb energy. So the plan that they had to use the Eden Zero's main cannon to take him out most likely won't end up working, because it would just absorb it. But then Holly actually ends up coming up with a pretty cool plan of using her nightmare to attack Dead End Crow, and then after her attacks get absorbed, watching where they get absorbed to, and using that to figure out exactly where his core is. And then she uses her Ether Gear ability, which is Melt, to basically create a giant hole inside of him, leaving his armor open and exposed, so that his core can be shot at by the EZ's main cannon. But before they can fire, he actually ends up using his eternal wiring to grab Holly and drag her right next to the core. So if they want to kill him, they have to kill her as well. Which Holly is 100% okay with sacrificing herself if it means taking out Dead End Crow. But obviously Herman knows that Shiki would never go for that, so she says that she's not going to do it either. So yeah, they're kind of in the stalemate right now, although you would think that Holly would be able to use her powers to either melt the core herself, or at the very least melt the wiring that's holding her in place so that she can actually escape. Either way, I knew that since they had a plan to take out Dead End Crow going into this arc, that it was going to fall flat. So yeah, we're kind of in a situation right now where they're actually going to have to do a rescue mission to get Holly away from Dead End Crow, so they can actually kill him. But anyway guys, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know down below what you thought about the chapter, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.